Hey everyone, me Kevin here. In this video, I want to explain why I'm making a $13 million acquisition for my media business and why this is really scary, where the money is coming from, and why I'm doing it. First, I want to give you a very clear lay of the land. 2022 has been a very difficult year. I've let some of the minor noise that is very, very loud, but it's still hate, affect me personally because I'm the kind of person that wants ultimately everybody to like me. But unfortunately, when the market is going into a recession, you can't get that. There are going to be people who are upset. They need to point the finger at somebody else. And even though I'm trying to do my absolute best possible, there are going to be haters in a recessionary environment. And unfortunately, I've let a lot of that get to myself. But when I zoomed out and put life into perspective, this actually became a lot less important. For example, a good friend of mine's spouse had cancer for 18 months. They went into remission, and then all of a sudden we're told now they have a new form of cancer, abdominal lining cancer, and they have 6 months to live. This is terrible. If anybody has any recommendations for any kind of clinical trials or any kind of support for these kinds of situations, please hit me up in Twitter DMs. Second thing that happened this year was I contacted my insurance agent about 8-ish weeks ago. Always gets back to me, always answers my phone calls, really great guy, hard worker, and a few weeks ago we call and find out he died. Suddenly died of a brain aneurysm. I'm like, what? This is so eerie. Then, third thing that happened is my uncle, whose initials are PP, Peter Paffrath, had a heart attack this year. It was like 35 minutes away from a hospital because they live in a smaller town. Fortunately survived, but it really put into perspective that, you know, life is about the journey, and life is about making sure we have the proper balance of success and effort and family, and that we're able to pick up where there are failures and keep moving with one foot in front of the other. And we can't let the noise of hate or criticism or whatever get in the way of that. So I realized that for me to maximally expand the three businesses that I have, a media business, an ETF, and the house hack, I need to be able to give my all to these businesses. And I realized that my media business and my ETF kind of fold into one envelope. They fold into research and content production. They're roughly the same because the research we do for content production could be roughly the same research that we use for ETF allocations decisions, which, obviously these are decisions that need to be made by consolidating all of this information together in a way that sets us up for the best possible 2023. Now, what's really important that I found is that between the hours of about 4 a.m. to 11, I'm constantly working on making content, producing videos, and actually able to provide value on the internet. That's how I believe that in the future we can create a neutral kind of financially directed Ben Shapiro show. You know, I think he does a really great job. He's got the Daily Wire. They've got like hundreds of employees. And I think they have, they tilt to the right. And I'm really trying to tilt towards the middle. How can I cover politics and finances while remaining as neutral as possible? That's my goal. But the problem is, if I go travel like I did a few months ago, I traveled to Miami to go look at real estate, and I was there for about 3 nights, and I realized, I go, gosh, it's so hard to produce content while I'm spending 3 hours getting to the airport at LAX. After 3 hours getting to the airport, the flight's delayed an hour, baggage is getting lost, so I just don't do baggage anymore. But if you carry on and you don't go like first class or premier, what happens? They potentially check your bag at the jet bridge, and then you have to go get your bag from there anyway. Right? And then you land, and you land at massive airports, where now you've got to get a hotel because you can't get a round-trip commercial flight the same day because those just don't exist. And so all of a sudden you look and it's like, my gosh, the amount of impediments to actually producing content, which is one of my very important pillars of my 3 businesses, producing content, me, Kevin, right? Gets heavily impeded if I'm sitting in traffic, if I'm sitting at airports, if I'm delayed on an airplane waiting for this thing to leave. It doesn't make sense. I can't operate both my real estate startup, HouseHack, which I think, knock on wood, and I can't make any guarantees, okay? You have to go to househack.com, read the solicitation there. But I think I personally, with the commitment I make to HouseHack over the next 6 years, I think I can 10x the value of HouseHack. Again, no guarantees. I personally believe that. So my view is hey, even if I make zero money next year because I take all of my money from my media business and throw it back into things that enable me to do the best possible job for my media business and for HouseHack, I think I can make that 10x a reality. I want to ring the stock bell at the stock exchange again, but with HouseHack on an IPO for potentially $1 billion+ company. Like, that makes me so excited, that potential. And so I'm really, really excited about like expanding HouseHack and becoming the best real estate company to exist in America. I really think I can pull it off. I don't think any other company does wedge deals the way I do because it's hard. And it's really because the owners are not the ones looking at the deals. You have executives at Invitation Homes that are like, hey, go spend the money to, people may be making $50,000 a year and they're just sort of like, all right, looks good. Let's just buy it and rent it out. And it looks good on a spreadsheet, but nobody's actually doing wedge deal analysis on these. Nobody's actually looking at how can we minimize evictions? Knock on wood, I've never had an eviction. So I personally believe that investing everything I can into these 3 businesses is critical. But in order to do this, I need to have the second half of my day where I can travel and get back same day. That way I could spend time with family, or I could take family with me, or I can make sure I'm back in time for the evening to spend some time with family. And then the next morning I could focus on my media business as well, or again, I should say. And therefore I've decided to purchase a small and the most eco-efficient plane that I could find. It is a jet. It is probably the most economical jet that you could buy when it comes to fuel efficiency, which I'm very excited about. It is a twin-engine jet. The safety of a twin-engine jet piloted by 2 pilots in a business aviation / charter style of flight is extremely high. It's safer than driving. Now, you want to separate business or commercial aviation, obviously, from people just YOLOing it on little propeller planes on the weekends. Those are scarier, much, much, much higher accident rate. So we think we're getting into something that's very, very safe. It's a newer model of plane. It's a 2021, the one that we're looking at, which we're very excited about. It does mean that potentially we're buying a little bit over market value because I do think we're going into a recession. But I do have tax reasons for making that happen this year. Again, if I can offset $5-6 million of taxes this year, and I'm financing the plane with about $3 million down, the plane actually pays for itself for about 1 to 2 years, which is really, really cool. And it will enable me to maximize my time growing my media business and maximize my time growing HouseHack. See, the cool thing is the following. Let's say I want to train a crew of, let's just say, 8 people. So I want to train 8 people how to be really good at analyzing wedge deals and learning areas with me and maximizing their understanding of buying wedge deal real estate. Well, if I took everybody on commercial flights, we're probably looking at least at $400 round trip tickets for 8 people, plus hotel costs. We're probably looking at $200 a night per person, right? So we're probably somewhere around $4,800 for 8 people, plus Ubers and food costs and miscellaneous expenses, plus the opportunity cost of me not being able to film the next morning. All of a sudden it becomes really, really, really expensive to try to fly around commercially with a bunch of people that I'm trying to train in real estate. Whereas on the flip side, if my core business, my media business says, you know what, we will own the plane. The media business is going to own the plane. It's going to pay for the core expenses for the plane. What are the variable expenses for the plane? Possibly as low as, depending on where fuel costs go next year, possibly as low as, again, depends on fuel, as low as $1,000 a flight hour. Well, now all of a sudden, if I make a 2-hour round trip from here to Salt Lake, or I should say 2-hour one way, and then 2 hours back, that costs me about $4,000 in variable expenses, and I get to leave with a 15-minute notice. 15 minutes from here to the airport, hop on, and I'm back. Really, really easy. I can also fly into smaller regional airports that generally commercial flights don't go into. I'm avoiding hotels. I'm avoiding extra costs of all of these additional people needing to be in hotels and fed and all this stuff. So really, and I'm able to be back in the office the next morning to be filming in my studio to provide value and content. So all of a sudden, $4,000 for a potential round trip, same day for 8 people works out to about $500 per ticket. When the reality is I'd probably be spending $1,000 to $1,500 per person, trying to scoot them around, and then you got to figure if we're going to be there for more days, scoot them around to hotels or food and Ubers and all this mess. It's so complicated. The projections that we're doing show that there's no way I could grow HouseHack and run a full-time media business if I have to fly commercially and take half of my day trying to drive down to LAX and then take off from LAX, and I'm losing all these days. It's just not feasible. So I've made the business decision to take my media business and use my media business as the ownership company of this plane. So I'm going to spend about $13 million buying a plane, take a massive write-off, which will pay for this plane for about a year or two. Then I'm going to use this to maximize my ability to create content on the business side, on the media side, but also be present for HouseHack. And I think this is critically important. Now, I want to be so crystal clear. HouseHack right now has almost all of its money tied up in treasuries, short-term treasuries that are yielding us net about $50,000 a month. That means all of our HouseHack expenses subtracted, we are up $50,000 a month doing nothing right now at HouseHack. HouseHack investors should be proud. They should be looking at this going, damn, doing nothing and up 50 grand after all expenses? Yeah, it's freaking awesome because we're making sure to manage that money perfectly. And HouseHack is not paying for this plane. I want to be very clear about that. I know initially some people are going to be like, oh my gosh, sure, Kevin raises money and then all of a sudden buys a plane. It's like, we're going through an SEC audit or an audit that will be reviewed by the SEC. Like, all of the money is so transparently accessible. And Ross Gerber at GK has all of our money, almost all of our money. And he's managing it for like a fraction of a fee, like a fraction of a percent at that. I think he's probably losing money doing this for us for the relationship that we're building long term. So HouseHack is winning on so many levels. And now, rather than have some miscellaneous employee go look for deals for HouseHack, Kevin gets to go look for deals for HouseHack while operating his other businesses. So this is a very, very important business decision to make sure that the media business can still succeed while I could still grow the other businesses, which I think that HouseHack business is in the future a multi-billion-dollar company, which I'm really excited about. And so, hey, look, we're going to be launching the non-accredited round for HouseHack very, very soon. Along with that, you'll be getting all of our audited financials, the SEC review of our financials. You will see zero expenses in there for Kevin's plane. That's because Kevin's plane is an expense of the media business. In the future, might it make sense to have some commercial equivalent expenses? Like, hey, like if we had to fly commercially, it would have cost us this much money in tickets and this much for a hotel. Sure, but I don't want anybody to ever think that this is, oh, let's use HouseHack money to pay for a luxurious lifestyle. This is not a lifestyle. Like, I'm not going into 2023 trying to finance a lifestyle. I'm going into 2023 expecting to work twice as hard as I worked in 2022. It's like if I wanted to just be lazy and do nothing, I wouldn't start HouseHack. I wouldn't even care about making more than maybe one video a day, maybe just one video every other day. I care so much about the media business and HouseHack that I want to triple down and go all in. And that's because I'm not going to let some idiot's hates online on commentary, on forums or whatever, let me down. I'm going to take advantage of tax rules that exist that say I can write off this whole thing. I'm going to take advantage of maximizing my time efficiency so I can turn HouseHack into what it deserves to be while maintaining my media business. And you know what? If somebody has problems with that, quite frankly, I wish them the best, because really, between you and me, they can go screw themselves, because I'm making the best business decision that I think I can make, and I'm doing that transparently with y'all. I expect in the next few weeks, I'll also make more detailed breakdowns of the cost of ownership of this plane. I'll also show you what the plane looks like. I want to be very clear. It is a jet that will be requiring 2 pilots. It is a jet that can be flown by 1 pilot, but I think for safety purposes, 2 is better. So we will have 2 pilots. We do expect and hope that in 2023 fuel costs will come down, though fuel costs are relatively nominal relative to the overall cost of this plane. There are a lot of levers that you can pull to minimize the costs of ownership of a plane, like chartering a plane out when you're not using it. I don't expect to be in that situation. I really don't want anybody else in this. I want this to be mine. I want to take care of it like a baby, and I want to cherish it. And I want to hodl this thing for a very long time. I'm not a plane trader. I don't really care about the value of the thing in the meantime. It is a tool. It's a utility. I'm not looking for a new jet like I get a new iPhone every year. This is a tool. It needs to be a safe tool, as safe as possible, one that I feel comfortable with my family riding on. And I'm very excited for what 2023 holds. Look, 2022 was very difficult. I had personal mistakes that were made. I think I timed my exit of the market very, very well, but I was not very good about re-entering the market. So I did great, and then I messed up. Oh well, that's life. I lost friends in 2022. I became somewhat depressive at times because of the hate that I received online. But despite this, I still managed to launch HouseHack, launch an ETF, ring the bell at the New York Stock Exchange, become a licensed financial advisor, and launch a new course on helping people provide value. Remember, my goal is with my programs on building your wealth is that if you just gain 1 ounce of perspective that helps you make more money in 2023, it more than pays for the cost of admission, which you pay once and you get lifetime access to these courses. I really believe that. At the same time, I feel really sick right now still because I'm just getting over the stomach virus, which I got Friday evening. I spent all of Friday night in the bathroom praying to the porcelain gods. And so far I'm tentatively better, though I've had a whole about 10 pieces of cantaloupe and actually surprisingly 1 cup of coffee. And so far I'm feeling okay. So knock on wood that tomorrow I'll still be good. But that's why I'm not dressed up like I promised I would be, not trying to make excuses, but I don't feel very good. And this is actually my second time filming this video because I feel that this second time around, I'm providing a little bit more of a clear video. The last video I was trying to teach a little bit more about tax benefits, and I think it went over some folks' heads, and then conclusions were drawn that shouldn't have been drawn. So thank you very much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.